Hello and welcome to my first video with Casting Commons. My name is Mathew Stein and we are going to play Mono Black Aggro. Sort of aggro, kind of a mid-range-ish, but you are technically an aggro deck. So let's start off by looking at the land base. So if I had to space out the deck how I wanted to, 1 second. This is how I would space it out. Pretty much, we're playing 10 Scrylands as our 1-drops. We're not playing Thoughtseizes, those are in the board, so these pretty much count as our 1-drops. They help us find our 2-drops on time. If we're missing lands, they help us find lands. Very important part of the deck would be the 10 Scrylands. We then run 13 Swamps. We need untapped lands if we want to go into 5-drops or 4-drops or bestowing. And then there's one Nykthos. Nykthos is probably the most interesting land because it's not very high risk. You're very easily able to play one. It's a very high reward if you're able to get a couple. If you have, like, we'll say 6 Devotion on turn 5, then you could play like another 3-drop and a Grey Merchant, or you could pretty much just make lots of mana for with Nykthos, and playing one isn't really, it doesn't take anything away from the deck. You never want to draw 2, so playing one is fine. Let's look at the 2-drop. So we have Painseer, which is probably the second most important non-bestowing creature. He's the best 2-drop. Just, you can start bestowing guys onto him, or play a removal spell to clear the way for him. You could just start drawing cards, and games can easily get out of hand if you're drawing enough cards, enough card advantage, and you can start increasing your board presence. The other 2-drop we're playing is Spiteful Returned. You want to bestow him on 4, but he's still a 1/1 for 2 that attacks for 3 every turn if they don't have an answer to him, and bestowing him is very good late game. We also play 4 Bioblights. Those go well with our Hero's Downfalls as our 8 removal spells in the main deck. You don't have that much room to play removal spells, but you do want to draw maybe 1 to 2 every game, depending on the matchup. If you're in the creature mirror, you want to draw 1 to 2. Bioblight's more of like a tempo removal spell. If you can go Painseer on turn 2, Bioblight turn 3, maybe a Temple after that, it's better. Hero's Downfall is more of like a catch-all. It can kill any creature, any planeswalker. Really just deals with whatever you want. Deals with Ashiok on turn 3. Deals with if they play Abhorrent Overlord with no other black Devotion on their side of the field, you can just downfall it and they get no value. So Downfall is a very good removal spell. And then, because you're playing 8 removal spells, it makes your Night Howlers way better, which is why I'm running 4. Some of us play 3, but I think 4 is correct, because we're playing lots of removal spells. Night Howler, again, easily able to bestow. Sometimes it's kind of awkward with your draw. If you have a couple of them and no creatures hit the bin yet, it's kind of awkward, but normally they do lots of work in certain matchups. Now, probably the most important card that is not bestowing, well, yeah, pretty much, is Agent of the Fates. This guy is probably the creature in this deck that can easily take over the game. Easiest to take over the game. We play 12 bestow guys just to make him better. So you go turn 3 him, turn 4 Spiteful Return, and then turn 5 Herald, which we'll get to in a second. He can really just take over and act as pseudo removal spells, and really a 3/2 Death Toucher when you're bestowing cards is going to be incredibly hard to deal with. And so Herald is probably the most important bestow guy. Just its base stats are a 3/3 flying for 3, which is perfectly fine. You'd play that any day. And then you do have the upside for 5 mana being able to bestow any creature in your deck, be it a Painseer, Agent, Grey Merchant, which we'll get to, Fate Unraveler, which we'll get to, just even Spiteful Return is 6 damage. Anything if you put with Herald, if they don't have flyers, you're dealing huge chunks of damage. The 1/4-drop we're playing, which some lists play Erebos main deck, others play Whip. The 1/4-drop that I'm playing today is Fate Unraveler. This guy doesn't see as much play as it should, because I truly believe it's really good. its base stats are 4 mana, 3/4, which is fine. But the upside of them having to take 1 damage every turn, if you have multiple of them, they take 2 damage every turn, which can really add up with the body. A 3/4 is where you want to be. Not a lot of the whole format can deal with it. And if you start bestowing guys, it gets out of hand really fast. It's a very good 4-drop. And then the last card is Grey Merchant. The only 5-drop we're playing because it's just so crucial. If you need a way to close the game and you have a bunch of guys, Grey Merchant is just the easiest way. For 5 mana, you can just hit him for 6 or 7, maybe even more. If you have multiples, it's also insane. So, yep. And then also, all the devotion helps with the Nykthos to add lots of mana to play quick Grey Merchants. So that's the main deck. Let's take a look at the sideboard. So the one card that I think pretty much every single list play that we have in the board are Thoughtseize. The reason why we're putting them in the board is it helps us to play 8, 10 Scrylands. Most lists play like between 4 and 6. We're able to play 10 just because we don't need to have it on turn 1. Untapped land, we can sacrifice our first turn just to play a temple. Thoughtseize comes in versus Controlled, Junk Reanimator. The only matchup it's bad is versus the smaller decks like Mono Red, Black White, Mono Black, the Mirror. You don't want to have Thoughtseize in your deck, which is why they're in the sideboard. Just being able to find more threats in those matchups with temples are much more important than having a Thoughtseize on turn 1. The next kind of package is our removal package, which we play 2 Pharikis Cures and 2 Dark Betrayals. These are primarily for in the mirror, black, white, mono, red, all those matchups like Thoughtseize is bad. These are good. Well, Dark Betrayal is not good versus mono, red, but in the black matchups, the black aggro matchups, you want to cut the Bile Blights. The problem is in the mirror, if they have a turn 2 Painseer, or if you both have agents and you want to kill their agent, you can't kill it with Bile Blight, or yours will die also. Pharikis Cure goes around that, deals 2 damage, so you can kill their agent and get in with yours. And Dark Betrayal in the matchup is just 1 mana, kill anything, like a Downfall. You're just playing 6 Downfalls pretty much. These are just way cheaper and play much better with your mana. So yeah, we're cutting Bile Blights in those matchups. This is more of a package now. This would be our control package with Thoughtseize. Read the Bones is pretty much Erebos number 3. You don't want to play 3 Erebos because if you draw 2, it's pretty bad. So in the control matchup, you're going to want to cut all your removal. It's just too slow. And you're going to want to cut some number of Night Howlers too. Just because if you have a hand with like 2 or 3 Night Howlers, it just doesn't do anything. More creatures have to die. So we cut these 11 cards and we bring in some cards that draw us cards. Erebos is really good. It's a 5/7, which is really hard to deal with, and it just draws you so many cards that it makes it so the game goes out of hand if he resolves for a couple turns. Mogi's Marauder is a way, if they play Elspeth, you can just give your whole team Intimidate and attack through for the win, pretty much. It pretty much is like a Grey Merchant number 5 and 6 that you want to bring in versus Control and versus Junk. You want to bring in, well, for Control also you want to bring in Whips, just because if you could start whipping back Grey Merchants or Herald of Torment or Spiteful Return, you can really deal the last points of damage. And everything they kill, they now have to kill twice. And then Thoughtseize can just take, if they have a light removal hand, you could grab that. If they're heavily on Divination, you can grab that. If they have 1 threat, like a Prognostic Sphinx or an Elspeth, you could take that. So that would be the control package. Versus Junk Reanimator, it's pretty much the same thing. Bring in 4 Thoughtseize, we bring in 4 Thoughtseize, 2 Mogi's Marauder, and 2 Erebos. And we pretty much just cut, we cut the 4 Fate Unravelers and the 4 Bile Blights. In that matchup, you want to exchange your 4 drops for kind of better creatures. Because Fate Unraveler, if you play him on turn 4, they have Abhorrent Overlord in play that they already whip back. You're not really going to do anything. I'd rather have Erebos in that spot. And then Thoughtseize, you want to exchange for Bile-Blight. Bile-Blight does not hit much of their deck, and you want to have something that can just grab whichever card is dealing you the most trouble. In the mirror, again, Fate Unraveler is not the best card. You want to exchange him for the higher value cards like Whip of Erebos and Erebos. And you want to cut the Bile-Blights for the Cures and the Dark Betrayals. So that is the deck here. We will be playing in a daily with it, and stay tuned for round 1.